Yes, hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Evan Wamani as always, and in my last video we looked at the introduction of information literacy, and I just highlighted on the basic things and all the videos that you should be expecting for information literacy. So in this video we shall capture the types of information literacy. We have two types. We have the primary and the secondary, but in this video we shall be capturing only the primary source of information. So for primary source of information, it is type of information that is gotten directly from the source. Like for example, I have some few details about it. So for primary source of information, it is a direct or first-hand piece of evidence created. You don't need to go or first wait for you go somewhere else to get the information. Like for example, if I'm to give an example of an accident, you go and directly approach that person, or you directly approach the person who has witnessed it. That person has first-hand information rather than you going and asking someone who got second-hand information, like someone who was also just told about the accident. So they are saying at the time of the event, or someone who directly experiences the event or the phenomenon, it has not been altered or interrupted by others, and stands as an mediated piece of information. You don't get this information from other sources. Like for example, most people, like nowadays, for the media, when something happens, people usually post about it on different social media platforms. But for this source of information, you don't wait for someone to post it. You go at the scene where the occasion or the incident has happened. You ask the people around to give you first-hand information. So for secondary source of information, I'll just give a definition, but we shall not talk about it in this video. We shall talk about it in the next video, like more details about it. So for secondary source of information, it is one that interprets, analyzes, summarizes primary sources or events after, like if I give an example of let me say for example the accident occurring. After the accident has occurred, then someone sits down, writes a story, like posts it on maybe on X or on Telegram or anywhere on any social media platform. And when that person is writing down what occurred, that the other person who will receive it, the other person who will read it, will be getting it from a secondary source because it has been posted on social media. So like if it's like the material often provide a broader perspective and critical insight onto the primary data. That is because like the person first sits down, analyzes critically what happened, thinks about maybe the possible causes without like someone sits down, analyzes what happened, or looks at the possible outcomes or the possible causes of an event or circumstance. So that is for second. We shall have more details about it in the next video that I'm going to make soon. So we are looking now at the characteristics of primary sources. So one of the characteristics of the primary sources is the originality. And here they say these sources are the first to provide information about a particular event or subject. They are unaltered, direct records that offer original thought or raw data. Like it doesn't need someone to first sit down to think about what happened or get information from another person. It is original. There is no alternating of the message. It is the very thing that happened. You're getting it from the source. Another characteristic, it is raw data. Primary sources often present raw data, unfiltered information. For example, a scientist's original lab notes might have data that could later be analyzed and interpreted in secondary sources. For example, someone, like they're talking about a scientist. When a scientist carries out an experiment, that is the original data, that is what he found out. But then people sit down and they want to improve on maybe on the experiment that scientist was performing. What they do, they sit down, analyze what he did. Then after doing that, they also look at possible ways of improving or possible ways of preventing the hindrance of an experiment. So that is also another characteristic of the primary source. Then another one, it is unmediated evidence. You don't need to post it on any social media platform, or they don't need to show it on TV or live television. Okay, it can be on live television because the incident is happening, but if you look at something like an accident, like a television station won't be able to be there to capture how the accident is happening. But for maybe events like maybe a sitting of the parliament, yeah, it can be available. But then for someone who's the other side is receiving the information from the original source, but then you who is seated somewhere watching, you're someone who is getting it in a secondary cause it is mediated. Then another thing is time related. They are closely tied to the moment into which they are created, making them especially valuable to understand historical, cultural, and social context. This is self-explanatory, like they happen at that very time. So maybe if we look at the examples of primary sources, shall go to ChatGPT. We are looking for examples. So these are the examples of the primary sources of information: letters, photographs, videos, official documents. Those days we used to have treaties, like 1900 Uganda Treaty. It was a primary source of information because it happened then. So these are the examples. Possibly in your free time, you can go and research more about maybe more examples about primary sources of information. Alright, thank you very much. I remain Evan Omani, and stay tuned for the next video, which will be talking about secondary sources of information. Right, thank you very much.